Hi, this is Joy Neas at Behind the Art Scene at KXVS, the voice of Stockton. And today my guest is Heather Rule. Thank you for coming. She's a playwright and she lives in Stockton. And could you tell us how you got started in drama, how you found your love, your passion for that?
Getting into theater, I was pretty much considering a considerable late bloomer. I didn't start until like junior year in high school. I mean, I grew up with a lot of like musicals and I was really into watching movies and things like that and, you know, seeing theater and stuff like that, but actually getting onto the stage, it didn't happen until after I decided I was done with band. I was finished playing the trumpet that I was dedicated to for 5 years. And my friend, Andy Dasty, actually told me, hey, come join theater with me. Come try this out. You know, and originally I was like, oh, let me go be backstage. I'll go help with the sets. I'll help with the sound. I'll help, you know, do all like the techie kind of stuff. And next thing I knew, I tried out and I ended up playing the dim-witted sidekick in the production of Lost in Space and the Mortgage is Due, you know, by Val Akoba at Edison High School. And that was it. And next thing I knew, I was actually one of her first kids to actually go to the California Summer School of the Arts. So it was literally like 6 months later. The next thing I know, I was at an art camp running around, you know, pretending to be a tree and doing yoga in the morning and stuff. And from then on, it was just, I was hooked. It was the theater life for me.
Wow. And during your time there at Edison, so you were taking drama and I think you said dance.
Yep, I was taking dance as well. Yeah,
with Val.
Yep.
And so, what did you find out about Val?
It turned out we were talking about something. We were talking about family one day, and Val was talking about, of all places, Astoria, Oregon. For those of you, that is where they filmed Goonies. And she was talking about Astoria, Oregon. She was talking about her family there, and I'm like, hey, I got family from there. You know, my mom used to get her hair cut at Aunt Minnie's shop. And Val looks at me, and she just peers at me, and she's like, that's my Aunt Minnie. She has the salon shop. How is your mother going to Aunt Minnie's beauty salon? And that's when I explained to her that my mother's Chinese. And, you know, my mother's maiden name is Kwan, her mother's maiden name is Lee, and then that's when it all started piecing together. And over our 20-year relationship, Val and I, we've discovered, and I finally found the family tree. She's my fourth cousin twice removed. Her uncle Duncan married my great-grandmother's niece, Flora. And there's your connection. Wow. And it was crazy for me, especially being a Navy brat, because I grew up all over the place. You know, I was born in Virginia, lived in Hawaii, Washington, Alaska, landed in this town called Stockton. You know, thought I was a million miles away from, you know, family and all this other stuff. The next thing I knew, I was standing next to a cousin. You know, and it was wild.
That is just absolutely amazing. I still don't understand all that family tree stuff. Someday you're going to have to run that down for me.
I got paperwork and pictures. I'll show you.
I need the paperwork. But just to know that you're related to Valico, she's like a legend.
Oh yeah.
In theater in auntie. Stockton. Okay.
That's my auntie.
So you're in good company.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And so she how did you end up trying out for the camp? She encouraged you to do that?
She encouraged me and two other students to go ahead and just fill out the application and get it in. And it was the funniest thing. I was actually procrastinating as normal, you know, being a junior in high school. And it was one of those things where it's like I wasn't sure that this was something I should do. I wasn't sure, you know, because, you know, having to go home and tell my mom, I kind of want to learn learn this acting thing, you know? But, you know, I got my paperwork in. I got my tape in. You know, the school even got a hold of me. I forgot my picture. They wanted my, you know, my student photo, so I sent them that as well. And the next thing I know, I got this fat envelope in the mail, and I'm running around the house going, I got in, I got in. So I was the one out of the 3 that made it into the program that year.
Wow.
And yeah, you know, hands down, best month of my life, you know.
So is that only for high school students, or can you, if you're in college, can you apply?
I want to say it's just high school students. There's like an age limit kind of thing. Once again, I was a little on the old side going in. So I was 17 going into the program, and then that October I was going to be 18. So I was one of the older people there kind of thing. And out of, what was it? It was out of 3,000 applicants, I was one of 90 that got in.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. And from what I understand, Val has, while she was still working with the schools and everything like that, I want to say like 1 year she got like 8 or 10 or something like that. And that's some of the bigger numbers. That's like some of the private school numbers. You know, I knew a bunch of kids from like San Francisco, and they were like, you know, 8, 9 deep, and these were like theater schools. Yeah, so like Val was able to get some kids in for those numbers.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what did you guys do?
What didn't we do? We had voice training. We learned Shakespeare. We had stage combat. There was a movement class with masks where, you know, basically I spent an hour a day in a dark in a dimmed room with a clay mask on, trying to figure out how to show emotions through my body language and not necessarily just my face. There was just a comedy class that was fantastic. You know, I like to think I had some really great timing that I learned from my dad, who told me every bar joke you can imagine. But I actually got to go and learn how like the Three Stooges dynamic is, how there's always a boss and like the guy who wants to be the boss, and then you have the guy who just doesn't care and he's just the chaos and stuff like that, and seeing how to make write a skit that way, and those are the elements that you want to have and stuff. And so, you know, doing comedy that way, that was a lot of fun. What else? You know, I mean, just mindfulness was another thing that was in there. It was my first introduction to yoga and actual like meditation and things like that. And then, you know, a lot of that has to do with acting. A lot of that has to do with art. Let's be real. You know.
Wow. So it really gave you kind of an overall drama lesson, and
yeah. It was a 4-week college level crash course into how to do theater kind of stuff. And then what was cool about that was it wasn't just for theater. It also had kids there who were there for music, and other kids there who were there specifically for dance, and the kids that were there just for writing and stuff like that. I actually ended up collaborating with a writer while we were there, and me and a couple other theater kids actually did her play for her there and stuff, and that was neat. And then, you know, learning film and all that stuff was great.
So then you found that you really enjoy writing, and so that you've kind of gone in that direction.
Yeah. Writing has always been one of those things in the background for me. I'm dyslexic. That was like one of those things they figured out early. And because of being dyslexic and stuff, there was such a push to read, you know, to learn how to sight read is essentially how I learned. And the doctors told my parents, the more she reads, the better off she's going to be, and all this other stuff. So I want to say 8th grade year, they tested me one more round, and they found out I had a 12th grade reading level in the 8th grade. And, you know, by the time I graduated high school, at a university level, you know, reading level. And it was just, writing had always been in the background. There was always, you know, poems. There was always stories. There was always those things. But then to finally put the two together, take the theater, take the writing, and actually start making scripts and stuff like that, that slowly trickled in when I allowed myself the permission. You know, as an artist, you have to give yourself permission that, yes, you can do this. You're capable of doing this. Don't worry about the rules. Don't worry about where you came from and all this other stuff. Just put it down on paper and see what happens. And it took me literally up to 3 years ago when I finally wrote a play, dared to cast it, and I performed it at the Fresno Rogue Festival. And so that was the big daring greatly year for me. I finally got back into theater. I was working at Good Company Players out there in Fresno, and I was like, let's do this. And in theater, everything that could go wrong did go wrong. All my actors dropped out. I ended up on stage. I had to ask my friend Charles, who's also my boss at Real Stream, to come and do the play with me. And that's when I finally put the paper, put it on, put the, ink on paper and stuck it on stage. And it was great. It scared the crud out of me, but it was the greatest thing ever, to finally express myself on, the level I was supposed to, theater and writing.
Yeah. So you were talking about the Rogue Festival. What is that exactly?
It's fringe theater. Different places like San Diego has one, Seattle has one. I want to say probably the Bay Area has one as well. It's like cafes. It's like art studios. It was the Miracle Mile would be like great and awesome if we could ever do this. You rent out the space. The artists pay for the space. And they get 3 to 4 nights, depending on, whatever. People pay to come to the festival and stuff like that. And they pay for the tickets. And you've got storytellers, you've got jugglers, you've got musicians, you've got choirs, name it. As long as you're willing to put it out on the stage and people want to come and see it, you got it.
Wow.
Yeah, it's great because you get to see not just what Fresno had to offer, but we had people coming down from Seattle to do this. We had people coming in from LA to do all of this stuff. Yeah. So, and for me, it was a fantastic opportunity to, as a new playwright, as someone who was just trying, how do you do this without, because I don't have a formal education. I didn't go to college. I went to Delta for a little bit, but then after that, it was like, I didn't want to do math anymore. So it was like, fine, I'm just going to go out into the world and go get my own stories and stuff. But this was a great opportunity for me to experiment. Let's try this play. Let's try this. After I did Fallen, which was the first play that I had done, I turned around the next year and I did a one-woman play, a one-woman act. And that, that's one of those things where it's like, okay, let me test the boundaries. Let's scare myself a little bit more and let's be truthful and tell everybody this story. And, another great experience.
So how many plays have you written now?
Right now, so I've got Fallen. I just did the one woman act. I still have tons of stuff on the back burner. Right now, I just completed a Chinese New Year themed play. It's children's play because I just done the Three Little Pigs this summer, and to keep going with that, and especially working with Val Koba, she asked me, hey, do you have anything for Chinese folklore, all this other stuff? I'm like, you know what, give me a minute. And I've been wanting to do this, so I finally looked up the whole story of how you ended up with all these animals, the 12 animals for the New Year's. And I got to tell you that the folklore of all of that is it's hilarious.
Okay. Can you tell us about that? That's kind of why I wore this shirt.
You got your tiger on there.
So I'm a tiger.
Okay. So it's a race. Okay. So the big Jade Emperor, the guy in charge of the heavens, for his birthday decided that he wanted to have a race, and then he was going to make a calendar out of all this stuff. So he told all the animals that they had to do this race. And the race starts at sunrise, and they all have to get through the dense forest, and after the dense forest they have to get to the river. Okay, and they all have to get over the river to where he's waiting at, and then that's when they're declared the animal for, the animal for all the different years that we have. So you have 12 years. And along with, being first, second, third, fourth, fifth, all this other stuff, it's hilarious because, you have the zodiac sign to it. So if you're a tiger, you're all these things that comes with being a tiger, intelligent and cunning and all this other jazz. But also how you got into the lineup you know, kind of like they want, you know, if you believe in the zodiac stuff, it tells stuff about you. Okay?
So who's number one?
Are you ready? You ready? Because you would think, you know, you would think,
okay,
you know, out of all these animals, who's number one? Rat. Right? You're like, wait, no.
Okay, Frank.
Yeah.
You're number one.
Yeah, he's number one. All the rats are number one. And you're like, and, you know.
I thought the dragon was number one.
Yeah, see, everybody thinks it's the dragon, and dragon's number 5. You know, and you're just kind of
so who's tiger?
Tiger is, it goes rat. It's rat, ox. So it's rat, ox, tiger is number 3.
3.
Rabbit, then the dragon. Okay. And then what's really interesting is out of all the stories, the rat story is the most interesting. You know, and you know, those of us who know the rats and stuff like that, okay, you kind of go, okay, this makes a little sense. The rat actually was racing with his best friend the cat, and he made a deal with the ox to help them get across the river. And halfway across the river, the rat kicked the cat out of the wagon. And essentially, this is why the cat hates the rat.
I see. Okay.
There's the folklore, you know, and it's like, not saying rat people are bad. I would never say that, especially since my dear Auntie Val is a rat, you know, but it's like, what would they do to be number 1? We love them, though.
So your play, so it shows, like, how it...
Yeah.
The whole race, how they won, and
and of course it's got my little tongue-in-cheek humor with it. It's kind of like, you know, how with like the 3 Little Pigs, it was the traditional 3 Little Pigs, but of course it's got a little bit of a modern twist, a little bit of a humor that, especially with the kid actors, you know, I don't want them to just stand up there and say lines. I want them to have fun with it, you know. And so it's going to have the same kind of humor along with it, where there's a lot of quick humor and you know, maybe not too modern. It's not like Pig, where it's like the FBI showed up and took away the house of sticks. You know, it's not going to be like that, but it's going to run along the way.
So are you going to have some music and dance and everything in it? Or?
Yes, I'm hoping to do that, especially trying to get the river out there. I mean, you know, you got to be, you know, how are we going to stage a river? I got some ideas. Some ideas of how to do that, and we'll figure it out. That'll be neat.
That's kind of like, have you been going to Delta Fusion every year?
No, I haven't had a chance.
Okay. So their story is all about the river, and they take like a long piece of cloth and have people hold it on either ends and flutter it around. That's
exactly like the best way to make the movement and everything like that. So yeah, that
I've been writing the soundtrack for 7 years of Delta Fusion.
Oh,
cool. David plays for...
Oh, cool.
I play for Val, too.
Oh, awesome.
A lot of Guzang and stuff like that.
Cool. Hey, I'm going to, I'll bug Val. It's like, hey, we need music. Go, we know who we need to ask.
All right.
There we go.
Okay, David.
There we go. That's how this works. This is how theater and art and everything else works. We all got to collaborate. And then, that'll be great, and, just, I'm looking forward to doing that, as well as I'm starting to do a few more little Chinese folklores and things like that. I found one about like 3 brothers and 3 water goddesses. Once again, more river, more music. Gonna need all that too. But like, putting more of a twist on it. There's, too often there's too many damsels in distress and all these things. It's like, no. Let's make the goddesses some warriors. Let's mix that up. And, the guys don't always have to be strong. We'll just make them a bunch of philosophers, and we'll see, how the venture goes that way.
So that's going to be over at the Confucius Hall?
Correct. Yeah.
The Red Dragon?
Yeah, with the Chinese benevolent association, yeah.
I love Val's, I think she's the best I've seen when she borrows, like she got the car from UOP that she used in the 3 Little Pigs, and there's this red car that they were gonna like get rid of, and let's paint it yellow, and and she's always reusing things and figuring out how you can do things inexpensively.
Yeah, that's the other thing. It's like you shouldn't break the bank trying to make all of this stuff, especially with theater, since it switches up and it changes up. And if you can always use the same thing over and over again, it would be ideal.
Yeah, it's so inventive. The things that you guys come up with.
Oh yeah, so. I have to say that was one of the best things I ever learned from Val Lacoba. Was we jokingly call it guerrilla theater, but it freed me and helped me as an actress and also as a director and as a playwright. It didn't matter where I told my story. I'll tell you right now, doing Fallen, my first play with Rogue Theater, there I was standing on a bench and trying to in full what was it? It's a Victorian garb, trying to convince a room full of people that I was not in the back of a coffee cafe, but in fact in 1911 New York, and about to jump out a window because there was a fire in the factory. So it was based off of the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory fire. And it didn't matter. As long as the lights were right and the music cues were on it, and even if they weren't, it didn't matter. I'm going to tell you this story, and you're going to believe it. Yeah. And that was a thing. Like, I tend to notice some people wrap themselves up, especially where they are in their lives, and going, oh, I can't do this. I live in Stockton, or I just live in Fresno, and it's not going to be of the same grade as if I lived in LA or New York or what have you. And the reality is no. You just got to do it here. And it doesn't matter at that point. It's all storytelling. And as long as you stick to that mindset, it's going to be awesome no matter what. So what if it's a styrofoam car? It's a car as far as we're concerned. No. Just say it is. It's a car.
I'll say I when I was in 8th grade, I was taking art. And so 7th grade, I got through my art class, okay. And then 8th grade, I started in some kids. They came and they had little razor blades and they cut up my arts. So I said, "All right, I'm gonna get out of that for a while." So then I went into drama for a few years, and but I was very fortunate to in high school we had the best drama teacher. We called her George, but Jean Georgakopoulos. And she was just so dynamite. But we ended up we didn't have a theater at the school and everything.
Yeah.
We did our plays in the cafeteria.
Even better. Yeah.
So we really made do. But they put on some really wonderful plays. My favorite was Anything Goes. It was so good.
Yeah. It goes back to that idea that it's like, had I gone to a school where they had like top of the line sound systems and mics and all that other stuff, I wouldn't appreciate it as much as I do now. Like, I'm one of those people where I'm a sucker, I'm a sucker for good lighting. I'm just so grateful someone's there to push the button, and I'm so grateful someone's there to push the button for the music and the cues on right. And I think because of that, the magic of it all stays with me. It's not just, oh, I'm just doing another play. I did a, oh my gosh, it was like 32 show run in Fresno for Comedy of Errors with the Good Company Players, and every night it was magical. I didn't care what anybody said. It was the most magical thing that could ever happen because the light was on and everybody knew the lines and we all showed up and we had a good time. And some of the veterans, they were like, it's just another play. And it was like, man, I don't want to be that way. I want to be grateful every time the light turned on right and the mic was on and the audience laughs when they're supposed to laugh. I'll take it.
So have you been to all the different playhouses in Stockton?
You know what? I've been back in Stockton for about 2 years now. So I'm just now coming out of my hole and all this other stuff. And the big things I've been doing is I've been chasing Val. I've been chasing Auntie Val around town. So it's like I've worked out in Linden and I've worked, here and all this other stuff, helping her with all the children's theaters and stuff like that. But no, I haven't, and I need to get over there because I have a bunch of friends that are over there at the Stockton Civic and doing all that. So and
then I just found Kudos. It's a children's theater. You go up on, it's just right off of Thornton Road. It looks like it's almost like in a little shopping mall.
Yeah.
But when you go inside of this place, I think, I don't know, it's right about a little over 100 seats.
Yeah.
But it is absolutely magical.
Wonderful.
We saw Aladdin and Lion King.
Oh,
and,
wonderful.
So they do all these,
The Disney Junior. and all that
different
stuff.
things with the kids.
Cool.
And one night, I wish I could have been a kid. They had like a sleepover at the theater.
Yeah.
And, let's project the stars up in the heavens, and
that's
they were all had their little marshmallows out and roasting marshmallows, and so
That's cool.
it's so cute.
Yeah. No, I think this is like the second year I was working with Val with the Be a Star, because I helped her last year with the Jack and the Beanstalk thing, and then this year, of course, Three Little Pigs, which is my play at Delta. Those are like the main places where I keep finding myself going to and stuff. But if I can make this be like it was, 20 years ago when I was a teenager chasing Auntie Val around town and actually being involved in everything, hey, I could get started.
Yeah. So actually, I still haven't been. There's a place right here on the Miracle Mile. It's called That's Showbiz. It's just right down the street here.
I want to say that I'm, maybe a couple years ago I saw a play there, but I'm not too sure. I'm trying to remember all of this stuff from way back.
So it's like you go in almost like a storefront, but behind where they would be selling their merchandise, you go through a door and they have like a whole little theater set up.
That's cool.
And so they do things there, I think, practically every month. And then the newest playhouse, it's called Tosco.
Yeah.
Telling Our Authentic Stories theater.
I want to say I
company.
saw one of those plays like a year and a half ago.
Okay.
It was forgive me, one of the professors. He's from Mexico, and he had to cross over and stuff like that. And stuff.
Right.
That was hilarious. He was here because he was hungry.
Yeah.
It's like that makes sense.
So we went and that was over at a church.
Yeah.
So we saw that, and they've had a few since then. I think like 3 or 4, but they just got a building. They're in a new building.
Awesome.
It used to be the Cazales Flower Shop, but it's on California and Fremont.
Okay. Yeah.
So right that corner. So there's a florist in there, like probably about 2/3 of the building is a florist, and then they share it. So they're right next door.
How neat. It's like a speakeasy theater.
Yeah.
Going around
Yeah,
Stockton. I like
it has a nice brick wall and on one side, and they did 2 plays by Ted Shine. They just had this thing. So they put kind of a stage right in the middle of the room, and all the seating is around, so it's like on 3 sides.
Oh, wow.
So the backdrop was a brick wall, and so they had 2 different plays. They were both set in a house. The one was in a person's kitchen, so they had it kind of set up with a table, and it looked almost like an oven and kind of a kitchen setup. And then so after they finished that play, they did like an intermission, so they had to clear it, and then it was set up in the bedroom. So they went from they brought in a bed and had everything but they did the whole play like with one set.
Yeah.
On each of the ones.
And switching it up and all that stuff. See, and that sounds awesome, and be able to, once again, it's like, it kind of reminds me like the Soapbox company in Fresno. They have like a little 25-seater, and they do things like that as well. That sounds like a lot of fun,
So I think that we're going to be going there for my husband's birthday.
Cool.
It's this coming Sunday, not sure the time, August 27th. They're doing some plays, some things by August Wilson.
Oh.
And then they were going to have some kind of music, so it's like blues music. And
oh, awesome.
so, and they got a nice little spot right next to their, it's supposed to be a parking lot, but it's kind of like a spillover outdoor space.
Yeah.
So they've used that in the past for they had like a barbecue out there, and so
it's awesome when you're able to do that, where you can like collaborate and you do like more than just, hey, we're gonna show up, do this play, and leave. It's great when it's like, hey, let's have a barbecue, let's meet the actors and the writers and all this other stuff, or in this case, just the actors and the producers and stuff like that, and to have like invite other artists like music and all this other stuff. We actually got to do that with the pigs, where we had two of the little girls in the play play the guitar and they sing and stuff like that, and so they actually sung before the play, and it was like, why not?
Yeah,
I love
that guitar player.
Yeah,
she was fabulous.
Yes.
Just knock your socks off. And, she was like, I don't know, 11, 12 years old.
Yeah, yeah.
She was as good as anybody I've seen. I mean, she was rocking.
And just as always, just to find a kid who's willing to get out there and stuff. That's like one of the hardest things with children's theater. It's they're smart enough to learn the lines. They're smart enough to, try and figure out where they're supposed to stand on the stage if not someone's there to help them. But to actually get them to deliver the performance, and then to have ones who are like, oh, I want to play the guitar and sing. Let them do it. What
I really liked about the Three Little Pigs, I've been going to Val's plays, but there was a lady, she made all the masks.
Oh, yeah.
Like for each one of them. And what I think, like Ava, the star, one of the star pigs, Sweet.
Yeah.
She can be a little reserved. Without the mask.
Yes.
But when she put the mask on, she was
yeah.
She just blew me out, but blew my socks off. But and then she did this amazing dance number. What's her name? Lacey.
Lacey went and did that for her, and
so she choreographed it.
Yeah.
I want to. Were you able to get that on tape? Did you
I want to say
tape
somebody recorded it. I want to say.
I want to play that back.
I check
was
with
so
Val
phenomenal.
or Lacey and see if they have that. But yeah, it was really, really good. It had the Megan Trainor song, the "If I Were You" and stuff like that. That was stuck in my head for like a good couple weeks afterwards, and it was just really good to see. Once again, with what I learned from movement with masks and stuff like that, it's like exactly that. It was like trying to get the kids to free themselves up. It's like, don't worry about your face. And, there's something about when nobody sees your face, how much more freeing it is. And it was good to see that, or where like Ava took it to that level and she was able to free herself up, and that you'd see, because beautiful girl. I mean, she's long and lanky, and as a ballerina, that's what you want. And she just looks wonderful on stage.
Yeah. So I think she did a superb job. Actually, all three of the pigs, really. I thought they were really excellent.
Yeah. The middle pig, Justin, that was his first role ever.
Really?
Yeah, I know. We blew all our socks off. We're like, we're going to keep that one. We got to figure out what to do with him and figure out what more we can do. And just the whole cast was fantastic this time. They all knew their lines. What? It was only 3 weeks, so a week and a half in, they already knew their lines.
Wow.
And that's amazing for any show, for someone to be like, normally during Tech Week, someone's still wandering around with their script, but not these kids. They actually had it done.
And Val's, she has two of her grandchildren there.
Oh, yeah.
They are. I think they're in every show she does.
So,
they're really getting some good theater training there.
And they're getting great theater training. It's like if you're part of the family, if you're part of the group, or all this other stuff, you're bound to get a phone call every now and then. Go, hey, I got a script. Great, you're going to play this person. Okay. When do I got to show up? And I know for me that's the exact same thing happened to me. I didn't even I wasn't completely moved back yet, and it was already like, you're moving back. I'm like, yeah, okay. So here's a script. We rehearsed then. It's like, oh, okay. I gotta unpack. But hey, why not?
There we go. You mentioned Linden. We had kind of breezed through Linden once before. I heard Val was starting to do things there, and then we went over, and oh, well, where are we going to go see a play in Linden?
Yeah.
That is a phenomenal facility.
It is
my
a
word.
beautiful theater. I wish more people would venture down the road to go see this.
That's right at the high school.
Yep,
then.
it's at the high school. It's all state of the art. It's beautiful chairs and plenty of parking, and it's beautiful. Val does the children's theater out there for the community theater of Linden during the summer, and then she also does a melodrama in February to help with fundraisers and stuff like that. And that, melodramas, you gotta love them, especially here in Stockton. You can't get enough of them. Last year, I actually had the privilege of doing The Importance of Being Earnest. I got called in to come and to play a part, and that was a lot of fun. It was like, once again, it was like, oh, this is nice, no, not having to do guerrilla theater once again. It was like, ooh, there's actually sets and there's a great stage and plenty of lighting and everything else like that. I wish we had a bigger audience. That was the other thing. It was like, it was so good, but like, because it's in Linden, it's like, come on, guys, venture out. Check it out.
I mean, that's pretty close to Stockton.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know, 20 miles, 15 miles?
Yeah, 20. It's a 20. Everywhere takes you 20 minutes to get there. So 20 minutes to Linden would be nothing.
So, I mean, you can go to Lodi or you can go to Linden.
Yeah.
Linden has great theater.
That's the thing.
Folks.
Come see it.
So, another thing I like we all could learn from Val is she really goes after all the grants.
Oh, yes.
And she's got grants from the Stockton Arts Commission to be able to get really good lighting.
Oh, yeah.
And then I like what she did on her latest performances. They didn't have enough money for those sound baffle things. They just went and made some.
Yeah.
So, Benny, he did a really good job on that.
Oh yeah, Uncle Benny's great with all that stuff, and it's just like it's just like anything else in life. It's like the grants are there. The grants are there. Do you have the guts to go out and get it? Is the question. Do you have the guts to fill out the paperwork and be like, hey, I got something. Come and do that. So like, I know that's something that she's hoping to do, and I'm hoping she's able to do with the Chinese New Year's play, and maybe a couple more of the Chinese folklore plays that I'm writing. And with any luck, let's get some of these grants. Let's see about let's talk about mics. Let's see what else we can get, and and benefit theater here in Stockton. Let's take it to the next level.
I do know that they like the grants in Stockton. They have stipulations. You're not supposed to get more than several years in a row.
Oh yeah.
So maybe you could put your name on the paperwork, and
she's just got to show me how to do the paperwork. I have no problem with this, and it's like, yeah, I'd love to do that. And I also have other projects and things that I'd like to do. Along with the children's play, which I love. I have a great time doing this stuff. I have a couple more of my own dramas and things like that, especially a few that are like based here in Stockton. I'm writing one called Harding Way, which is basically about siblings reconnecting and coming back home. We all, some of us know that tale about coming back to Stockton and or coming home and returning home, and what is it like to rekindle your family and stuff like that. And so I have that and a couple more things. So hey, maybe get some grants, get some help.
So actually, I noticed a new space. Maybe you could possibly look into that. It is right on Harding Way.
Awesome.
And it's like right down at Harding and Pacific, those stores there, with like the antique store and all that.
Yeah.
They say it's a Miracle Mile event center.
Okay.
So,
all right.
Maybe you could have the play,
Okay.
the Harding Way play on Harding Way.
I like it. Okay. Life imitating art, imitating life, imitating art. I'll take it.
So they got a phone number you can call and find out.
I'll get that from you later. With everything else, where it's like, link me to that and link me to that. Yeah.
So I see you brought crochet here today.
Yeah, we're friends on Facebook, and you noticed all my crochet
I noticed
stuff.
your crochet since I'm a crochet nut.
Exactly. So. Those of you who write and are artists and stuff like that, what do you do after you've just plugged in a good 6 hours in front of the computer and all this other stuff, and you're completely drained, but you can't turn off all the little screens in your head? I'm the type I crochet. You know, I get my hook out, I get my yarn, and I crochet. And, you know, one of the big things I do is I make, as you can tell, I make bun beanies.
Bun beanies.
I know. They could also be for, like, you know, ponytails and all this other stuff. They're great for runners, you runners
Here's
out there.
Here's a bun beanie.
It's a bun beanie. And actually, one of my awesome coworkers from Joann's, Priscilla, she actually has a booth that she does at Stock Market. And she sells all these cute little yarn animals. She does like the little tiny itty bitty hook, and makes like, you know, squirrels and Pokemons and all this other stuff. She's more patient than I am. I yield. But actually, a couple weeks ago, she asked me. She's like, "Hey, you know, do you have anything I could sell for you?" And I was all like, I got a whole closet full of these, you know, and I've been trying to push for a little while now. Of course, you know, it being 105 out, no one's buying a bun beanie right now. But fall is coming.
There we go.
And, you know, and these are great Christmas gifts, just so you know. So, yeah, so I'm trying to, you know, sell these. My mom also makes them with me because, you know, why not?
So how did you learn how to crochet?
I actually am one of the traditional kind of crocheters. I learned from my great-grandmother, my grandmother, and my mom. You know, when you're little, you start off by just weaving in the end. See, that's the thing. You need to get yourself about a good 6 or 7-year-old, and when you're done making an Afghan, hand it to them with a needle, and they can weave in all your ends for you, which is like...
That lovely job of weaving ends.
Anybody who's a crocheter or a knitter knows what
We
I'm
all
talking
hate
about.
it.
You don't want to do it. You don't want to finish it. I did it. I made it.
Yeah.
Somebody else just put in that last bit. 7-year-olds. Ideal. You know, it wasn't until I was like in my 20s did I actually starting my own thing. Because most of the time it was like, let me start your first row and here. Go ahead and finish whatever I'm making. Okay, I'll finish it and whatever. I stopped for a really long time. And then I got to the 700th level in Candy Crush.
Yes.
And wondered what I was doing with my life. And then discovered that this was a lot more calming than Candy Crush. And, you know, at least at the end of the day, I actually had something in my hand that I could give away or sell or what have you. And, you know, I laugh whenever I see the spinners. When I see people with the spinners and stuff like that now, I kind of sit there and I'm like, you know, I crochet. That's what I do. I get it. There are people who need it. I have a lot of friends who need them and stuff like that. I get it. But like the people who just buy it because they're bored, it's like, I got something better for you. Right. Come learn a craft. Come learn something you can do and watch TV at the same time. It's awesome. Yeah.
That's a good thing to do when you're watching TV. Yeah. I'm trying to make the welcome home blanket. And get that done by September 5th. So that's a challenge. So it's 40 inches by 40 inches, 16 squares. So I got 2 done. So I got 14 more to go. Got
14 more today.
I got to tear myself away from Candy Crush. I'm about 2,200 now. But Fred curses ruse the day when I ever found Candy Crush.
So it's dangerous. Candy Crush is dangerous.
So this is
a vest I actually got to make out of. That's the new thing I do now when my friends go on vacations and they ask me what I want. You know, I watched the documentary The Minimalist, so now I'm like, I want experiences. I don't want knickknacks. So I tell people, I want yarn.
There we go.
And then that's when I made myself a vest this summer. With like the really nice cashmere and everything.
That was an alligator stitch.
Yeah,
I think you said.
The alligator slash.
It looks like leaves.
Oh yeah,
it's beautiful.
Alligator slash dragon stitch for those of us who are Game of Thrones fans.
Look at that.
I know, and you just want to pet and stuff. I splurge on myself for yarn. You know, friends, family, everybody else. I'm sorry, you're gonna get the acrylic. I will buy myself the nice cotton and everything else like that because I spoil myself. But yeah, this is all nice. This actually I got at this great yarn shop up in Tahoe called Knit and Knot. Yeah. So that's the other thing.
Yesterday I spent the day at Dharma. Have you heard of Dharma?
No. Where's Dharma?
So that's in San Rafael, and that's a great yarn shop. And then they have. I was learning shibori tie-dye.
Ooh.
and but they do batik. They have all these different supplies for that. So
Awesome.
it's right on 4th Street in Sarafel.
I've got like my bucket list of yarn places I want to go to. I'm gonna go hit up, there's a place in Half Moon Bay. There's like a couple places up in Sacramento I want to go check out, and then I've got a couple of my own fellow yarn enthusiasts. We're gonna start planning field trips and stuff like that, and start going to do that.
You can drop a lot of money, I tell you. Those women, $100 and something. Yeah. Take that bag out there for you.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, I tend to be the one who like picks up that the $50 skein of yarn and just kind of go, and it's like, yeah, it's nice to touch it and stuff like that, but it's like at the end of the day, I'm good. I have to walk in with a budget, and I have to, and it's like that's it, $40 at the most,
$40.
$40 at the most,
So you should go over to Dharma. I think they were selling, I forget what I think it was called paint. And somebody, they had, when you looked at the top of the skein like this, but it looked like almost like circles of color.
Yeah.
Like this. And they gave you if you bought the yarn, it was like $20 or whatever.
Yeah.
Then you got the instructions for like a shawl, kind of.
Oh, okay, cool.
So,
yeah, and that way they, I kind of like that now. Have you ever seen like the new ones, like the sweet rolls and all that other stuff, where it's like it's for those of us who don't want to change up color, and have to deal with all that stuff. It's like it's really neat.
So I think that's what that was, and but they were saying how one skein or whatever that would make a whole be enough for the project.
Yeah, be enough for the whole shot, and that way you don't have to switch up the colors.
Yes.
Or doing it. They got rid of all the thinking, and it's awesome.
And then you don't have to weave in all those ends.
Yeah,
yes.
And then that's the thing. It's like I have to say, crocheting has helped me stay focused, because once again, as an artist, you easily get distracted. It's like you start going to town, and you're working on a story, you're working on a play, or novels and all this other stuff, and then squirrel. Oh, let me head in this direction, and I've been able to at least channel the whole, I got distracted going this way or this other stuff. I've been able to channel all that into my crocheting, because there I don't have a problem with, okay, I picked up a beanie, I'm gonna work on this. Oh, I'm gonna do my shawl now, and I'm gonna go work on that. Oh, someone just had a baby, I gotta get that baby blanket up and going, and I'm able to be a little bit more focused on my tasks at hand, instead of like having my creativity just sitting in one spot. It gets to be spread out a little bit more, and then that way when I pick up that one project, I can be more focused on just writing this play or just writing this novel.
Yeah, there's this guy named David Vallejo, and he's a professional illustrator, so I'm always looking at him on Facebook there, so he works with he used to work with Jagged Lines of the Imagination, but he'd do all these illustrations, and he'd be working out concepts for his classes that he teaches. But when he wanted to take a break, he goes to his guitar. So it's like creative people. I think you can be multifaceted and have different. So he goes from the illustration, the drawing, to the guitar music.
It's like a good way to keep the energy going. It's like you get so into what you're doing, and then you feel all drained out, and you need to go get a snack or whatever, and then it's like that's when you listen to like some samba music. At least for me, I'll put on something, and it's like, oh, I'm back. I can do this again. I got a couple more hours in me. Let's do this. Yeah.
So it's a good way.
Can't get into this pose. What's going on? And one of the key rules is relax into it. You put so much pressure on yourself. You put this idea that it has to be perfect, and it has to be done this way, and you have to be this person. If you just relax into it, you could stand on your foot. If you'd relax into it, you'd learn your lines. If you'd relax into it, you'd finish that that paper, you'd finish that page, you'd finish that scene, you'd finish, you would finish it. I think a lot of times people, you get blocked, as we like to put it, the dreaded block, and it's because you're too tense, So yeah, why not go do a little yoga and remember to sit still, and sitting still also helps with the crocheting too. But, sit still, breathe, come back to center, come back to being just, a bag of flesh sitting on the floor stretching. And then you can get back into your head. Because sometimes we live too much in our brain, or we're too much in here and not outside enough.
Yeah, my mind, it's always swirling. It's so hard, like even just to go to sleep. And I'm going,
oh yeah,
thinking.
It's like, how do I turn off all these screens? I loved how they did that, where they're like, your mind's going a mile a minute. You have all these screens are on like a computer, and you want a mouse that's just gonna click them all off. Yoga, crochet.
I keep I envy C-3PO when he can just like shut himself off. Okay, I'm going to sleep now.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I wish it would be that easy, but. Crocheting helps, yoga helps, all that other stuff. Zumba, I did that for 5 years. That was fantastic. I gotta go find that again here in Stockton.
So what's your next project, you think?
My next, I've got an ongoing project where I'm working on a young adult novel series. It's basically a little girl building rocket ships to try and save her planet kind of stuff. So it's sci-fi and what have you. I'm trying to get that published. I also have several other fantasy science fiction stuff that I've had sitting in that drawer waiting to come out. Unfortunately, the first time around I tried to get published and stuff like that. This thing called Twilight came out. And it turned out everybody knew about vampires and werewolves and wasn't really interested in buying books at that time for that. So hopefully I can start dusting things off and bringing them out. I'm still working on all the other plays, trying to see if I can get produced. The big main thing that I know that is coming up is, working with the, Chinese Benevolent Association with Anti-Val and getting that up and going. And I'm, of course, acting, going to be doing some, melodramas coming up in 2018 and, keeping my eye out to see what else is out there.
Yeah, you should go over to Tosco. They're looking for people.
Awesome.
And when you were talking about the Rogue, festival, maybe... that would just be phenomenal if we could get, maybe Val and you and a lot of the people from the theater area, and if we could all come together and plan that honestly, for Stockton.
Stockton would be, honestly, Stockton, as far as I'm concerned, is the perfect place for that. We have so many musicians. We have so many actors. We have so many writers. There is so much art here that would benefit from having a Rogue Festival or Fringe Theater of some kind. And, what a great way for Stockton to yet again celebrate. We don't celebrate enough in this town, and I one of the biggest things I hate is when people sit there and they're like, oh, I didn't know we had that.
Oh, yeah.
That's like, I could just feel my heart break when I hear that. It's like, oh, I didn't know we had that. I didn't know we had that. I didn't know we had theater. I didn't know we had, music. I didn't know there was live music on the mile, or that this was happening and stuff like that. And Rogue Theater would be one of those great things that, like, if all the artists could get together and just, put something on and, keep it going,
So what venues would you think would be good for them?
Anything you can stick a stage. So any of the cafes, if they're willing to give up a spot, any of the art studios, if they've got like a space somewhere in there. It doesn't necessarily have to be like a full-fledged theater, anywhere you could set up like a mic and a speaker would be more than enough. And that's the thing. It's like there's many levels of what theater you could get. Like, for instance, you were talking about the theater that's across the street from here.
Yeah, that's Showbiz.
Yeah, that's Showbiz. They could easily rent out that space. They'd be one of the bigger venues. Okay, and then that person, whoever rents out that space for whatever price the society, the Rogue Theater site decides on, they'd be able to rent that out, and they'd have like 4 good shows, and they'd be able to charge, anywhere between $5 and $10 a ticket. And, they'd go there. Or for instance, there's an art gallery that's opening up next door to this very place.
Right.
If they had like a little tiny spot and a little tiny, just like, they don't even have to have a stage. If they just had a podium and a mic, someone could rent out that, and they just go up there and tell their stories, or maybe just play their music and stuff. You could have a banjo player sitting there, doing his greatest hits or something like that, and giving everybody an opportunity to produce something, to let the word out, show Stockton that there's more than just whatever.
So I was wondering about the whole, like how you set up a stage. If say I want to go get a stage from, where would I get something like that if I was going to rent it, or
if you're going to go rent it from like Rogue Theater and stuff like that?
Or somewhere in Stockton here.
Oh, somewhere in Stockton. I haven't had the pleasure of really knowing that. Okay. So
because I know like Tosco, they made their own little stage. And,
yeah.
I'm just kind of interested in how you would make that. I know like the fairgrounds, they have when they put on events, they have a little platform, and you can use that for a stage.
The experience that I had was in Fresno. So I actually got in the lotto, got picked, and I was one of like the first 3 that could actually pick out where I wanted to be at. And so I ended up in this cute little coffee cafe where the front was a coffee shop, and when you walked through the back door there was this, the back of this brick building was this full-on stage that they actually had there, and like booths and old theater chairs and stuff like that. It was really like, I lucked out, especially since I was trying to get everybody to think it was 1911. It looked like 1911 back there. It's just you had to ignore the sounds of the grinding coffee in the background. And I had the funding. I took the chance, and I was informed I undercharged, but once again, you got to learn. It was a great way to learn producing. It was a great way to learn. Okay, I should have charged more. Or I should have done this. And they were able to put some light trees in there. They were able to put some sounds in there, and that was pretty awesome. I had a guy there pushing the buttons and adjusting and doing all that stuff. The following year, when I did the one woman act, I did it in an art studio, and that was just a podium. That was literally me, a mic, and a podium, and just telling my story.
So how much funding would you say to put on a good event?
So the big theater that I paid for that time, I jumped for it. I went for it. It was like a $400 Yeah, but I got like 4 nights, and they did all the publicity, and we're talking top of the line. The Rogue Theater out there, they've got these programs that are just beautiful, and it's been there for at least going on almost 20 years. They should be going like 18 years now. So they were already established. People knew, and I had my own little spot in the programs. They had put in the little barcode things that you could do with your phone, and you could pay with your phone and things like that. Mm-hmm. And the flat fee that they had everybody pay to come into the festival, because there wasn't really like gates or anything else like that. Don't think that you have to put up fences and you only have to let people in. No. The way it worked was you had to buy I thought it was brilliant. You had to buy a bracelet that said Rogue Theater for that year, and it was like a flat fee of like $10 or something like that. And then you could buy all your tickets. And then they also had it where you could buy like package deals where you bought 10 shows for so much and things like that.
So you had to get the bracelet besides the tickets for each?
Because the bracelet, see, that was the thing. The bracelet helped them run the Rogue Festival. Okay. The artist paid for the spot, so then that means like the cafe got paid through that, and the art studio got paid through that. So that was the thing. They all were able to rent out their spots and get a little extra money, and then the artists themselves got the money from the door.
Oh, wow.
And so it was this full-fledged, really cool business where like everybody was taken care of.
Okay.
You know, you're none of this, you know, it's like, oh, do I get a percentage and da da da. And it's like, no. You got paid.
Well,
The artist gets paid.
let me just finish off with there's this Placeholder magazine. It's in Stockton. It's probably about 2 years old. And they're going to be having a special fundraiser coming up in September. But they're looking for artists to do proposals for an event they'd like to see in Stockton. And this sounds perfect. And then the fundraiser is like a dinner that you end up presenting your proposal to all the people at the dinner, and then whoever they think is the best gets like $1,000.
Oh, wow.
So in order to put in you put the proposal in, I think by the end of August, and they are going to choose the 3 finalists that they like the best.
Cool.
So maybe you could
I
put
know.
in a proposal for this.
I need to get on that. It's like, okay, that's another thing you got to link me to, and it's like, okay,
So,
let me go look at that.
Val could help you with that.
Yeah. Hint, hint. Auntie.
How to write the perfect grant.
Yeah, exactly. Auntie, we need some help here.
So it looks like we're wrapping it up, and I really thank you for a wonderful conversation all about
Awesome.
theater and the arts and crochet.
Yes.
And so I'll give you all those links. Thank you for being my guest today.
Hey, thanks for having me. This is great.
All right. So, and I'll see you next week on Behind the Art Scene at KXVS, the Voice of Stockton.